Welcome to Pruitt-Hamm Law and Mediation Services. We're going to talk about how to distribute property and debt in a divorce or dissolution of a domestic relationship, focusing primarily on divorce. There are essentially 5 different steps in the process, and this is described here at our webpage, colvillelaw.com or pruitthamlaw.com, what we do, family law, property, debt, characterization. The 5 steps are itemization, characterization, valuation, distribution, and equalization. First step is to itemize all of the important assets and the debts, putting these onto a spreadsheet. What I'm going to do is show you the spreadsheet that we use for doing this. Schedule 1 is where you'll place all of the items and then talk with your lawyer about characterization of items that might be separate property of the husband or separate property of the wife, which are listed under Schedule 2 and Schedule 3. But let's start off with just listing everything under this column. And so, for example, we would put the family home, and of course you're going to put in a more apt description of that, the date that it was acquired, and up at the top you'll see that there are 3 different columns with colors: orange for the husband's proposal, yellow for the wife's proposed distribution and valuation, and then blue to show any difference between the 2 positions of the parties. Of course, this could be spouse 1 and spouse 2 for a same-sex marriage. Up here we summarize the date that the parties started to cohabit in what might be termed a committed intimate relationship, formerly known as a meretricious relationship. We also put the date of marriage and the date of separation because those are the brackets that typically would characterize what would constitute community property under RCW 26.16, which is the community property statute for Washington State. So back to our example, the family home, if it's worth $250,000 and the husband thinks that he should get it, he'd put $250,000 in that column. Now, usually the family home has a mortgage that is on the house and typically done at the same time, but it's been paid down a bit, so it's going to be maybe $150,000 that's still owing on that. Well, let's say that the wife's position is that the house is actually worth $275,000. She's okay that the husband get it, so she puts it under the husband's column, but at the higher value. She agrees that there's $150,000 because that's what the bank shows, and here we have the difference between the parties' position showing in the difference column. There is no difference between their position as to what happens, who gets the mortgage loan, or what the value is. So we've itemized, we've characterized, at least tentatively, by putting everything under the community Schedule 1. We have valued, so that's valuation is our 3rd step. Distribution is our 4th step, and we do both by placing the values in the proper column. And so if you're the husband, put all of your proposed values and distribution in the husband and wife columns under the orange section. Let's say you've got your car 1 is a Toyota and it goes to the wife and you think it's $10,000 and there's still $5,000 owing against it, then of course you'll put a more specific description of 2007 Toyota. Now when we get down here, the total community property, the positive numbers and the negative numbers offset each other, so that what you show up here is the equity, the community equity. And under husband's proposal, he would have $100,000 and the wife would get $5,000 if these were the only items that were being awarded by the court. Obviously there will be more. We're going to skip over, and I'm going to simply hide the interim schedules 2, 3, and 4. And down here we have a summary that shows that if the husband gets 100, the wife gets 5, there's only 105. Both parties should walk away with $52,500. To get there, the husband would have to give the wife an equity equalization payment of $47,500. If that occurs, then there's a 50-50 split of the community property. And that's about all the time that we have for that introduction to the Statement of Assets and Liabilities. Thanks.